good. I mean, I'm ready for this thing. I slept terribly last night. I don't know why I care so much. I'm just an objective journalist, but I think you just feel it from the fans.
Yeah.
Like people, right. I almost tweet. I got to get off Twitter. First of all, second of all, I almost tweeted last night. Like, if you had a sleep tracker on the Twin Cities, like on an every night basis over the course of this year, like last night was probably the worst. Like, I was texting friends. I have them. I know you sometimes you don't think I do.
Outstate you do.
Correct. Yeah. In
Anniston.
Correct. Yeah.
Birmingham.
Yeah. Different
Tallahassee.
places. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Mobile.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. Correct.
Yep. Southern California. We're there 1 minute.
These fans are. I mean, I feel for them really because this is emotional. But
well, it's okay. Interesting what you're talking about, because in getting to know you as well as I have, is when it comes to being right. Okay, you're not breaking. Blah blah blah. It went the wrong way. You know, like it was a B+ source, and I felt 94%, but I'm gonna go with it. So there are just so many specifically in this game, the radio game, or in the media game, where they get so wound up over what they put on Twitter, on social media, or what they say, that if it's right, then there will be a peacock, and if they're not accurate, well, then they're going to take it super personally, and you're not that. So like the anxiousness would be because you can sense the energy and anticipation in the town is palpable.
Yeah, and I just care. I mean, I just care a lot about it. I've thought a lot about this. Like my dad always jokes with me, and he's actually in Italy right now, and he might be listening from Italy. So maybe
Faccio bella cara mia, vini.
But he always jokes with me like your energy usually rises and falls with like the way the team you're covering is going, which is probably not how it should be. And I probably shouldn't even say that, but it should be.
But it makes it more fun. It makes it easier and or more fun.
And I just view it, it reminds me a lot of times of like as being a kid and like enjoying sports the way that kids do, which is, I think, all of us why we get into this, because we love it so much when we're young. I mean, I care a lot to that point about being right. Like if I put something out there, I want it to be right.
But you haven't made a prediction on what the Vikings will do.
And this is the reality of the draft. Transactions, it's different. The draft, there's just, you said subterfuge, but I mean, I've had multiple conversations where I'm like, this is what I hear, this is what I think. But is it because someone on the other end is strategically making me hear and think that stuff for their benefit? That happens. That's just a part of it. Yeah. And so that's what's going to make what ends up happening tonight so fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I say welcome home, is the amount of words / paragraphs you just shared is dramatically greater than the summit yesterday, where they steamrolled you. I mean, Seifert talked dramatically more than you. How'd you feel?
I felt totally great about it.
You didn't talk a lot.
You
didn't talk hardly ever.
You don't need to talk a lot. When you're in an environment like that, like
but this is home.
Yeah, it is. It is. But
that's the side piece.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful, honestly. Like, and Seifert and Ben know this. They've done this. They've covered this team for decades. I've done it for 2 years.
Right.
So I've learned from them. I enjoy these guys. Like, I enjoy being around them. I genuinely believe that. And,
I know.
And it was cool. It was cool that.
But you didn't play fast. You play fast here you weren't playing fast.
I was playing a little tentative, but I was also exhausted. I was.
I think you felt left out.
No, I didn't feel left out. I definitely felt a little. It felt more of an interrogation. I don't know.
So you're saying the host didn't do a good job of integrating new friends?
No, he was doing a great job. Really? I felt like, you have 3 people across the table. You got to kick it around. That's a round table with 3 people. Yeah. Now that's a tough task there. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening. I thought I hope the analysis was good enough.
Yeah.
But I feel
when you spoke every 20 minutes. So it's just great to have you in here, okay?
I don't love spouting opinions all the time.
Right, but that's not the point. The identity is the point, and the identity, unprompted. By the way, thanks for the help with Diana Rossini. I mean, she's not only on it. I mean, she's just super plugged in. Senior NFL writer of The Athletic, theathletic.com. We heard her yesterday, but she's a spitfire. I mean, she just goes.
Yeah, I told you before you had her. I was like, she's good. She's fun. She can joke around. And I didn't think she was going to throw me under the bus for sleeping late.
She didn't. She played into the identity. which is why I'm saying welcome home. There's YA, young Alec. Okay, he sees life through the eyes of a child, which means he wakes up at 11, he picks dandelions, and he chases butterflies. And that is who you are.
She compared
Yesterday
me to
was some Woodward and Bernstein thing, and I'm like, who are you? Talk.
Well, it's funny. I used to go on the radio in Kansas City when I covered the Royals, and the afternoon host there would just pepper me like it was I was the GM, and we're down to business right here, and we've been losing. And I just never understood. I like having fun. It's what makes the job. Like,
amen.
I love talking to the fans. I love communicating. And I love just being ridiculous because again, it's sports. We're not covering the Nuremberg trials.
I understand. So anyway, welcome home. Sorry about yesterday.
No, I enjoyed it.
It'll get better as the years go on. Well, I mean, it may. Drake.
May.
What's Drake? It may.
Nice.
Speaking of quarterbacks, what are you feeling about J.J. McCarthy tonight? Say it like the 11th overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, if he's there that late and the Vikings can't trade up to number 3, it's a sensible thing. You know, I've thought a lot about J.J. McCarthy now going back a ways. When I hosted this show about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I brought up something that an AFC executive told me at the time.
How is Brandon Beane?
Yeah, and I knew you were going to do that.
How is George Payton?
And
I haven't talked to him in a while.
He said to me at the time, I've talked to a ton of people in the business, scouts and friends that I know, and nobody is telling me that they have J.J. McCarthy as the number 2, number 3 pick. He's like, I can't find people in the business that I'm friends with that I know.
What if they're lying to you?
It could be lying. This is a guy I've known for years, like years. So again, and it could be strategic, whatever. And then that same day where I brought that up, I asked Matt Miller of ESPN, their draft analyst, what are the odds J.J. McCarthy goes in the top 10? And he kind of acted like it was a crazy question. Like, obviously he's going in the top 10.
Yeah.
And so I've just thought a lot about it in terms of like last year, Will Levis, it was assumed that he was going to go number 2 and and then he falls. So if J.J. McCarthy ultimately falls to 11 and the Vikings aren't able to get to number 3, then to me it's a possibility. Now, it might not have to wait until 11. The Vikings could feel some heat from behind, be it Denver specifically, and think, you know what, let's get to 7 or 8 and just make this happen. The Giants at 6 are interesting. I from what I know, my inclination would be that they like Drake May. They don't love J.J. McCarthy as much. So
did you see, like, McCarthy did an interview? Oh, it was Rich Eisen show, the podcast.
Sure.
And basically predicted he goes to the Giants. I saw that yesterday. And he talked about the time he's put in there and Daboll's the bomb and the concepts. And there's a coach on the staff who was with me and whatever, and they like the neutral zone trap in case I need to play for the Islanders. I mean, it's just all coming together.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, too. I've only done, this is my second draft that I've ever covered. And it's the first one that's really relevant, I would say, where the Vikings are relevant. So I said to somebody the other day, everything I've heard this entire cycle, going back to the combine, I've made note of it. And I've made note of who told me what and the time at which they told me. Because over the years, the more I do this, I want to know the people I'm talking to, how realistic is what they told me? What did they tell me at certain times? Because I think that's important to go back and review it. And the reality is the nature of this thing is so interesting. I heard an anecdote yesterday from someone in the business who has been an executive for a long time, said to me, Alec, there have been...
How is John Schneider?
He said, Alec, there have been so many years where you enter draft day zeroed in on 3 players.
Wow.
And then you get in the draft room and hours before, other players are now on your board because owners wanted them, because the GM threw them up there. And so... Just the process is absolute mayhem. There's ego, there's incentives, there's uncertainty, and it creates for, obviously, one of the most interesting nights on the calendar. So it's so hard to really be plugged in and know who's being truthful and who's telling you something for strategic purposes. That's what I'd say.
That's really interesting. Because I've chatted with him before, but I've never gotten that type of information from Rich McKay. specifically with that tampering bit hanging over him, and he could be a trade.
You guys love the tampering bit. I mean, oh my God, we're going to switch for 8.
No, we don't. I hate the tampering bit. The tampering bit sucks. It's boring. It's like the collective bargaining agreement.
It's terrible. When you brought that up.
But you have to, because this is your newsy journalistic integrity leader, 9 to noon.
Yeah, you're right. That's how I always viewed. Yeah. It's hard news. It's journalism. I mean,
that smile?
Yeah.
In the mirror. You see that smile on his face? Welcome home.
No, I all seriousness, because I'm on the air right now, and I'm just going to give you what I know at this very moment.
No, you're not.
My impression right now is that the preference would be to trade to 3, and Drake May would be the preference, or you stick around 11, and maybe that ends up being 5, 7, 8, 10, and you find a J.J. McCarthy. Now, if others are sniping in front of you, then that's where I go to Michael Penix. But to me, those first 2 options around 11 for McCarthy is what I would expect if it's not a Drake May. But they have to be careful because, again, Denver, as you've mentioned a lot on this air, I really think they're in on J.J. McCarthy.
Lost 2 friendships.
They would make
over it.
It's terrible.
Yeah, no, it is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, that story will be told in time.
Sure.
Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com, 9 to noon. He's come home to the Love Covenant stable. Gets to talk, gets to share opinions, not steamrolled by fellow scribes and hosts. And this is your dandelion picking and butterfly chasing leader, the fan, and KFAN.com. If I'm the Minnesota Vikings, and this is not off steam, this is, like I said it this morning on the power trip, that I would say to New England, here, if they're interested in 3, and I don't really have any reason to believe they're not. Here's the compensation. It's these 3 first-round picks, and that's it. That is it. Okay? So go ahead and flinch. Go ahead and roll. You're not going to use May, and everybody knows it. So have fun with Jacoby and not being able to pick a defensive player, by the way, for your defensive-minded head coach for 24 hours at least. Go ahead. Have fun. But that's it. 3 first-round picks. We get that spot. Bet settled.
I don't know if that's going to be enough, but I am with you completely in the sense, and I just told Sauce this back in the back hallways.
And it's been tweeted since you told him.
I hope not. That's what I said, please. But, like, the Patriots situation is, to me, a mirror image of the Panthers last year. You have a first-year, I guess Frank Reich had been a head coach, but you have a first-year head coach. Yeah. You have a first-year offensive coordinator who's never schemed offense, never stood in front of the room, never installed plays. You have terrible skill players. You have a terrible offensive line. To throw a quarterback into that environment and think it's just going to go magically, in fact, it might ruin the quarterback's future, to me would be an irrational move by the Patriots leadership. Now, would they make a irrational move? Potentially, because their ownership is, in Robert Kraft, older and cares about legacy. And the son, Jonathan Kraft, is also probably very interested in making his stamp on this team. And so, while you talk to people in the league, they're like, if a quarterback goes there, good luck, frankly.
Well, how is Troy Vincent? I haven't chatted with him in a while.
Nordo's liking this. Yeah. But I've been on the phone a lot, and you just ask these questions, like, what do you think about throwing a quarterback in that environment? And the answer is similar every time. It's like, I would wish that agent and that quarterback well, because it'd be so, in that case, if you're the Patriots and you have so much to build, why not recoup assets? And then maybe they can find J.J. McCarthy as well at 5, at 6, later than that. That's where the 3 first-round pick offer, if the Vikings were willing to do that, and I'm not totally sure that they would be, but to get Drake May at 3, I think you would have to be willing to do that. If the Patriots don't think about that, to me, they're not thinking long-term, and they're acting irrationally in the short term.
A rookie quarterback is unknown talent at this level. Okay, so I'm gonna be master of the obvious here for a second to get to a point. So if you take Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, whomever, Drake May, the North Carolina quarterback. Let's start there. You no matter what Josh McCown tells you, he was like prepubescent. No matter what you saw on film at North Carolina, no matter how bad his offensive line was, didn't have Hakeem Nicks, didn't have anything close. But you love him, and so therefore it's the metaphorical clay that we can mold. That's fine. That's great. But they're like, if you, like with Cousins for Atlanta, okay, that's that's proven commodity. So is it going to be with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and whomever else off the play action to Bijan, what it was like here in 2022, part of 2023? Well, you can't say that, but you can say, if it completely falls off and his completion percentage is 55 and the interceptions to touchdowns are 2-1, that's not happening. See? So therefore, you can formulate a conclusive opinion off facts that you have seen. That's not the case with the quarterback, specifically one who's probably not going to play this year or may play at times, given the circumstances. Here's the point. Is the general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, will remind us frequently that he comes from a stock trading background. Well, I mean, getting into your 401k, your Roth, and all the assets that you have accrued and or amassed for a signature investment, generally speaking, does not go the way of faith. Hashtag faith. Yeah, we like him. Yeah, we know he likes him. And yeah, we know we saw this. Yeah, we also know he's not going to play for a while. And KOC may love him inside and out. But it is not, it generally, the stock world does not go that way. And I'm not a big stock guy, but I know enough about it to know if YA Inc. is at 10 and it goes down to 3 and you have steam that something's going to happen, well, you get in. And there it goes up to 18, hopefully. Where this is we are paying this, which is exponential. And there is, whether they want to concede it or not, there is a hashtag faith side of it.
No question.
Well, that's if your background is that of it's predicated on getting the value your way and also buying something at a certain margin or a certain number that is going to blow up and maybe split. You can't say that with a rookie quarterback.
So here's what I would say. And I laugh at this. I was thinking about this last night because a lot of Vikings fans, I don't want to give up the future pick.
Right.
But you're assuming that pick is going to be a hit.
Right.
What are the odds that pick's going to be a hit?
Yeah.
What if it ends up being a Lewis scene?
Right.
So if it's like, well, you can't assume that future pick's going to 100% matter or play any impact at all. Why don't we operate for this one pick that is as important, is more important than any other position, and the evaluation is done by the person and people we trust most within the organization. Mm-hmm. So there is an uncertain aspect to it. This is why I laugh. Some people, and I completely agree. If Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown believe in a certain player, go get them. But let's be very clear when we say that even if they believe in a certain player, the odds that it works out, not a given. Mm-hmm. So it's a very uncertain process. But I'm
saying it's antithetical to the way brokers or whatever operate in the stock world.
Yes, which is why I think they would have it's why I think Kwesi would have a price tag that he's not going over.
Right.
But ultimately, as he said, quarterback is where you build in some irrationality. Mm-hmm. You build in some risk because of how much it can exponentially change your future as an organization. The other thing is this. In a stock portfolio, you assume to have it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is in his third year as a general manager. Mm-hmm. You don't know how many years you got. So this is kind of like, probably you got to make your investment
now. The Brandon Bean thing you dropped a month and a half ago about Josh Allen.
Yes, yeah. No question. And it worked out for Brandon Bean and Josh Allen, and that's great. But, I think it is misguided sometimes when I hear fans say, like, I don't want to give up this many picks or future picks, because you're assuming in that regard that those picks work out.
Right.
When this regime specifically, with their draft picks in the last couple of years, I don't think you can assume that anybody's going to work out. So that's what I would say to that.
Welcome home to the Covenant. Thus the metaphorical red carpet outside of the studio.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Homemade meatloaf with that includes bacon and butterscotch cheese.
I don't like meatloaf.
That's why we put the bacon and the butterscotch cheese in there.
I like bacon.
And a homemade apple pie for you.
That's nice.
So we welcome you home, and we have much more about which to chat, but first we're going to go over there.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. This hour's keyword is grand. So you might win $1,000 with the keyword grand at KFAN.com.
music right here.
If KOC, well, see now, as mentioned early in the week, and a lot of people who listen to 9 to Noon or follow sports and or the draft, they've either heard about it or seen it. But now the steamrolling is you're talking about the anticipation and or level of anxiety of fans wondering what's going to happen. And I agree with you. I mean, it's the thickest, richest, and most palpable since I got to this market in 1998. And they took Moss in 98, but I don't think a lot of people saw Moss coming in 98. They took Percy in the 20s in 09. A lot of people didn't see that coming. With all due respect to the guys, like, when they picked relatively high, Trey Waynes, Kenichi Udeze, Erasmus James, I mean, it's like, crickets called and nobody answered. I think Erasmus James was the last edge rusher they took in the first round.
Could be. 2005, maybe?
I mean, it was the picks to a certain extent, Troy Williamson, a correction for the Moss trade or what was next with him. I mean, it wasn't like, it's not a quarterback. Okay. So you're right about just how thick and interesting it is right now. I'm just wondering what the reaction at the stadium is going to be this evening. So you'll be in your super special cubicle at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Do you think it's pizza or tacos tonight?
Pizza, tacos, and I would say
all of it.
No. One or the other. But there's also a low odds percentage. The odds are climbing on high V Chinese. That was, I believe, last year. We had some fried rice, some egg rolls.
Our Speedway taquitos not available?
Yeah.
Or maybe the blueberry donuts from Quick Trip.
High V Chinese is very good.
It is pretty good.
Okay. Sam Newton makes a wonderful quiche Lorraine.
Sam Newton's in Detroit.
Oh, he is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's sneaky sucker. He didn't tell me because. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Congratulations. But you're right. I'm just wondering with 5, 6, 7, whatever thousands are going to be at the stadium tonight. And we have a draft show starting at 6:30. Just wondering what the reaction is going to be if there is not a quarterback taken by the Minnesota Vikings like before pick 11 or at 11. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be in a rush. So like, do you think is it the worst case scenario for them as an organization, a football club looking to show a profit and win a lot of games, and for a fan base? Worst case scenario, they leave today and don't have a quarterback, period?
Yeah. I just don't see that happening at all. Mm-hmm. If tonight ends and there's no quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings roster that is not named Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, or Jaren Hall, I'd be blown away.
Right.
And would you
really?
Yeah,
okay.
I just would. There's no way.
Well, it's panic if you take Penix Jr. at 11.
There are a lot of people in the bit. You guys, and a lot of people have that narrative. And you talk to a lot of people within the game who have Penix ahead of J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. I shouldn't say panic.
I'm serious.
No.
People, I've had a lot of friends, fans, they're like, Penix, oh my God, freaking out about it. I'm telling you, there's reason to be like, well, the injury history, the age.
No, it's not just the injury history. There are teams that have red dots next to him, and he's not draftable. They deem him not draftable.
It might, sure. But I've had a lot of conversations with people who literally think he's better than they think he's on the same plane. Yep. They have him ranked ahead. I know multiple teams picking in the teens that believe that they would have him on their board ahead of J.J. McCarthy.
Okay,
I'm telling you that.
Saying panic at 11 is wrong because I happen to believe he's going to go in the mid-teens.
I think it's settling though.
Or I can't say that until somebody who knows more about it tells me that.
Here's
I just don't know enough about it to make a bold proclamation like that.
I don't think it's that bold. Again, it's future assets. You laying it around, how risky it is, the unpredictability with future picks and all of that.
Right.
When you go from that end of it to just picking a guy that's available at 11, I think that is settling.
Right, but see, that somebody posed a scenario like that to me a few days ago, and I said to them, okay, please explain to me what you like dramatically more about Drake May compared to Michael Penix Jr.
Well, it's not about what I like; it's about what the teams like.
And we don't know what the teams like. That's what I'm saying.
But therefore, if they're willing to move up for a guy and sacrifice future picks, and then they end up taking a guy at 11, that is the essence of settling.
But not if
I can't say
not
that.
if
they've
not if,
identified.
Yeah,
not
no, I
if
can't
the
say that.
Patriots are asking for 5 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Well, sure. If it's your 2026 one and all of those things.
Nah.
So if that falls through and that's a disaster, I still look at it ultimately as settling.
And you have a right to look at it that way. It's fantastic. But if it truly is a deep quarterbacks draft, which from the combine on and everything, we believe it is. Well, Penix Jr. is part of that. Bo Nix was never really part of that, with the people with whom we chat who know more about it than us. Penix Jr. has been part of it every step of the way. So, I mean, to say taking a quarterback at 11 is just you settled. If you're running a business like that, you better get in a different business. Because
teams settle for guys all the time, and
not in the first round.
But absolutely, I bet they do. Specifically as it pertains to the quarterback position. Again, you are willing to sacrifice future assets to make a massive jump for a guy at 3. That doesn't work. You take that guy at 11. That is settling,
but not if you can't get to 3. If you literally can't.
So in the backside of it, if it truly is this unprecedented deal that is just preposterous beyond the 3 first-rounders that you mentioned, which I don't think is preposterous.
Right.
But if it is significant extra equity on top of that and they just couldn't get there, absolutely. I'm totally with you. But again, if that doesn't work at 3 and now you're sitting at 11 and you're taking him, I look at that as settling.
So
if they select him,
take Michael Penix Jr. at 11, are you going to be upset about that?
Well, I'm just going to think that what did we miss out, whether it was McCarthy earlier,
but answer
what
the
it was
question.
May.
Are you going to be upset or happy with that?
Without further information, I would be upset.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In the end, I'm going to root for him, and I want him to win games for this team. That is still, from one spectrum side to the other, I believe that is settling.
Yeah, I'm nondescript on it where, I'm sticking by everything I've said for weeks. May McCarthy. After that, all right, good luck. You did the work. I don't do the work. I don't know the nuance of what you do with individuals. You deemed that is the place, given the 2024 draft, what you have and what you don't have, and how it was laid out. And that's who you took. So I can't get over tonight, if they trade up and they get a Drake May at 3, I'm going to be excitable on the microphone.
As you should.
Because that's what I do. And I'm excited the team for whom I call games, and Roots got a quarterback for the future. Well, now the line of delineation is there, where that's one of several things that I appreciate about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, is his decisions are that of conviction. There is a line of delineation with what they traded with Detroit for them to get Jamison Williams. Not afraid to move up or move back so Green Bay can get Christian Watson. I mean, Kwesi has a line of delineation with what he does, where it's easier to figure out if it was right or wrong. So it will bear its fruit. And if the tree comes up dead, somebody loses their job.
Now, I will say, Nordo it's actually a great conversation to have, because this is why I think.
Well, let's pause so we can do it next segment.
Okay.
So we're not rushed.
Okay.
Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com. It's what's funny. Nobody said anything.
I'm having fun. And
it's because you're home. Hey, you got your
just
toys.
Looks at you when he starts laughing.
No, it's because he has his toys. He has his sinkhole. He has his favorite. He got Boobon over there.
No, I'm laughing.
Thomas the Train over there.
I'm laughing because it's so fascinating. It's like it really is.
Home,
in
man.
Nordo's perspective, it unlocks something in my head. So I'm home. Yeah, I feel. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
We'll be right back.
I can't wait.
So it's off the spirited conversation we just had 9 to noon. We have YA, we have Mad Producer, and yours truly. It's the word settle is where I get hung up. And so therefore, if you look up the Merriam-Webster definition of settle, well, there are myriad options here. So there are a lot of people who are going to think, I couldn't get into Manny's, so I'm going to settle for McDonald's.
Right.
Okay. Now, so the settle means, I don't have any other options. Well, I know you don't mean it that way.
Correct.
But that's how and I don't, whether others take it however they take it, that's on them. But that's like how I'm taking it. You know what I mean?
No, you do, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's like if you want Dallas Turner and you get sniped, but you get Jared Verse, like that's a pretty damn good player. And in the vein in which I was speaking, you're settling for Jared Verse because you didn't get Dallas Turner.
Like if you
in the end, that's a W.
That edge guy, let's say Verse.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, didn't get him. And then 3 rounds later, we settled for this guy who we happen to like a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I think in the vein of your thinking, which is probably where we will come together on this, is the next in line, next up. So from my standpoint, being upset if we're not seeing aggressive attempts, and again, in some ways, a lot of this we won't see until we sift through the ashes and things are leaked or reported later by people like Alec Lewis. But the aggression of getting up to 3, it doesn't work out. That now, okay, next in line. So not settling, but to a J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. Did they make a move to get up at 5? Was the steam on the Giants being QB aware, you could say? Now, what do they think of J.J.? Who the heck knows? Not me. But we didn't get there. Now, J.J. gets sniped. Now at 11, we got Michael Penix. Yeah. And I do think that there is a deflating element to that because of how much time, as you've mentioned, it's been May and McCarthy and May and May for 2.5 months, and that there's a deflating nature to that. But again, settling, probably the wrong word on my part. In the end, I want the Vikings to win a ton of games with Michael Penix at 11 if they end up getting him.
Couldn't you tell from the conversation earlier with Chavis and we both respect Corey's acumen with the draft.
Yeah.
With the change in his cadence and you know, it's we didn't push him on this, but I feel comfortable. I think he likes Penix Jr. more than McCarthy.
I think he does.
And I don't think it's close. Well, so then there's him. There are other people within the draft covenant with whom I chat off the radio, not in the game, who watch a lot of college football, who are like, you know, they're not going to break down the schematically sound nature of somebody or who's mugging the A gap or running stem routes and selling it with their shoulders at the top perfectly. Okay.
Yep.
They watch it. They don't have an agenda. And I have a lot of people telling me I love Michael Penix Jr. I mean, I watched him play 2 times in my life. So it's
Same.
For me, it's get a quarterback that probably won't play this year. And you know, but so now, like when it gets to, okay, Paul, why are you May McCarthy? All right. I've fallen in love with J.J. McCarthy the last month. That's it. His interviews, what I know about him and the play action, watching some things that I otherwise hadn't seen. I just believe in him. My discernment believes in J.J. McCarthy. With May, this started, for me, and if they draft him, then I'll start sharing some things, that transpired at the end of the regular season that, kind of led me that way to make Drake May my first guy for the Vikings. But they're not shareable unless he's on this team. With that said, it's where I got it is that resonates with me big time. So I'm gonna ride that train. And so that's like how I get to I don't get to the May bit because of his body size, his arm strength, and how well does he throw right hash, left boundary? Those are things we eventually learn.
You've been talking about his off-platform movement, really, since January.
Now I would say this.
But the high school bit that popped, I think when you were on the radio, man, at the Combine, the Charlotte McCown thing, that matters.
Yeah.
That matters.
Now I would say this about Penix. If the Vikings end up with Penix, to me, it's one of two things. Either the Giants probably traded to 3 to draft Drake May, and then someone ended up with McCarthy, so the Vikings didn't even have a chance to get up there to get McCarthy, and so Penix fell. Or that's one reason why they'd end up with Penix. The other is,
but what if they like Nix more than Penix?
Well, here's what I'm saying.
None of us know if they do or don't.
The other thing I would say is Penix, in their evaluation, is very close to McCarthy, so they didn't feel like it was worthwhile to squeeze up a little bit more for McCarthy, and they'd be okay with Penix. Now, Nix, I know they've met with them. I know they were at the Senior Bowl watching him pretty closely. It's possible. I just feel more confident that Kevin O'Connell would see Michael Penix and his willingness to to throw the ball deep and his deep ball accuracy and the performance he put on the combine.
Right.
And just from what I've heard, that I would say that. But that's why I don't think I would term it as settle, because I would say if that ends up happening, then it's likely that Kevin O'Connell's evaluation of Penix versus McCarthy was pretty similar. That's what I would say.
Right.
That would answer the question of the gap that we've been talking about in terms
and I wish
of those
I could.
tiers as well. I wish I could. We'll find out.
I've said it, whether it's speaking at church events, whether it's here or wherever, when I'm asked this, and I'm asked it a lot, I want the quarterback Kevin O'Connell likes most.
That's it.
100%. And when I say Kevin O'Connell, that includes the staff.
Yeah, McCown,
so we have
West
Angelico, the whole thing.
Of course.
I want the quarterback Kevin O'Connell likes best and has not been slaughtered by the quarterback killer.
And if you're Vikings ownership, you hired this guy for a lot of reasons. He's been an incredible leader for this organization the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons is to trust him at a time like this. Mm-hmm. And it's not just trust him tonight. It's trust him in the time to come in terms of developing that guy, because we get so caught up, rightfully, in my opinion, in who are they going to take tonight.
Yeah.
But what we aren't going to talk about enough and maybe emphasize enough is that if you do this, it is on everybody in this building to operate the right way and trust the leadership in charge to make every decision that they believe is the right one to develop this guy optimally. And that is an advantage that you have that a team like the Patriots probably
and
wouldn't.
The prognosticating of what's next in this violent, emotional game is virtually impossible if you're casting your gaze more than a week. And here's why. The 2022 draft, with all due respect, it was bad. Okay. Now they have time to outplay 2022, 2023. But, looking at it, it set the team back to a certain extent.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well, they went out and won 13 games after that draft. Few saw that coming. And if you were going to base it off that draft, you're lying. So you just never know, specifically when it comes to prognosticating like that. Welcome home. It's good to see you.
Thank you, guys. It was fun. And I got to say, it's been awesome this whole cycle. I really appreciate both of you guys being on here. It's been really fun.
And for me to Nordo, too, same thing. Excellent work up to the draft. It's been the A topic, and, it ain't easy every single day. Well, it's not like, it's not like it's super hard, but to have the same conversation, yet do it a different way.
Yeah.
And it's been a treat attacking that every single day. But now it's time to talk about what happened and move forward to minicamp and see Drake May or whomever there next weekend.
In first training camp, he threw a pick. No, Ivan Pace picked him up.
Be on the exclusive Vikings Radio Network perch at the facility and watch May chew somebody up. And then is he cutting into Darnold? Is he, where's this?
Correct. Yeah, it's not stop.
What's Jaron Hall? What about me? Who's on the Mike Hughes Memorial Injury Field out under the cover of darkness? So let's just get there, okay?
I'm going to go pick
love
dandelions.
Both of you guys very much, and I'm very, very fortunate not only to have you guys on my radio show, but to call you guys friends. It's a beautiful day. I've seen a lot of butterflies. Go chase them. Thank you for listening. Here's the wrap on the show.
Thanks to Casey's for sponsoring the 9 to noon show wraps. Casey's Rewards, deals on food and fuel, and had badass pizza. Love you, Casey's. So maybe the team rolls with Jared Verse, opposing quarterbacks in a hearse. I'd love Byron Murphy or Jerzon Newton. Get a fat guy, plug in the middle. You're darn tootin'. But then there's this guy named Chop, and clearly I'm focused on adding pass rush pop. Though I picture Flores deploying Cooper DeJean. Iowa kid's an absolute machine. You got Dallas Turner flips the switch on, but who'd be dumb enough to throw on Quinion? Thursday night, we're fans first, doing our part, pretending we know all the names so that we sound smart. And in the end, it's McCarthy or May. It's not if Kwesi wants to move up. Can he afford to pay? And if the draft day dreams fall through, how does waiting for Michael Penix sound to you?
Football feast.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.